Hello friends, welcome to Tathya Current Affairs. Let's begin with the historical events that have occurred on 6th August. In the year 1890, the first execution by electric chair in the US of A took place. William Kemmler, who was a convicted murderer, became the first person to be executed in the electric chair. He was convicted of murdering his common law wife, Tylee Ziegler, with a hatchet in the year 1889. The execution took place at Auburn Prison in New York. The use of the electric chair as a method of capital punishment was considered controversial at the time and led to widespread debate. So, what is the background of this? So, electric chair was proposed as a more humane method of execution. Hanging was the most common method used at that time. The idea was to use electrical currents to induce death quickly with less suffering. It was developed by Harold Brown, who was an employee of Thomas Edison. It was developed during the so-called war of currents between Edison's DC, that is direct current, and George Westinghouse's AC, that is electric current. Edison promoted the use of AC for the electric chair to demonstrate its dangers, but AC was ultimately adopted for widespread use in the distribution of power. So let us know about the execution on 6th August 1890, the morning time. William was strapped into the electric chair. The first attempt was a 17-second application of 1,000 volts of electricity. However, witnesses reported that Kemmler was still breathing, so a second jolt was given, which was of 2,000 volts, which lasted for about 2 minutes. It resulted in his death. The process caused severe burns and was widely regarded as botched. It led to a public outcry and prompted debates on the ethics of this method of execution. Despite this, electric chair continued to be used in the US for many decades. So, what is the legacy? It is often cited as a critical moment in the history of capital punishment. It highlighted dangers and uncertainties associated with new technologies applied for methods of execution. It became a symbol of the death penalty in the US until it was gradually replaced. It was replaced eventually by lethal injection in the late 20th century. In the year 1940, the Baltic states of Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania was annexed by the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union sought to expand its influence in Eastern Europe. The event occurred as part of this broader geopolitical machinations of World War II. It marked a significant moment in the history of these nations. Example of the broader pattern of territorial expansion and repression practiced by totalitarian regimes during World War II. It serves as a reminder of the resilience of national identities and the eventual triumph of independence and self-determination in the face of foreign domination. So, what is the background? The Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. It was a non-aggression treaty which was signed between Nazi Germany and Soviet Union on August 23, 1939. This pact included a secret protocol that divided Eastern Europe into spheres of influence, with the Baltic states falling under Soviet control. So, what were the ultimatums given by Soviet Union? They issued ultimatums to Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania in June 1940. The demand was to allow Soviet troops to be stationed on their territories. Faced with the threat of overwhelming military force, the Baltic governments capitulated. The repercussions: repression and deportations. Following the annexation, Soviet authorities implemented harsh repressive measures. Tens of thousands of Baltic citizens, particularly the members of the political, military, and intellectual elites, were arrested, deported to Siberia, or executed. Resistance and occupation. Despite annexation, resistance to Soviet rule persisted throughout the occupation. Many Baltic nationals viewed the Soviet presence as illegitimate and fought against it, leading to underground resistance movements. The long-term impact: Soviet rule. Annexation resulted in nearly 50 years of Soviet occupation. Soviet government implement policies which aimed eventually at Russification and suppressed national identities. Eventually, there was restoration of independence. The Baltic states eventually regained independence in 1990-1991. Following the collapse of the Soviet Union, the forced annexation and occupation were declared illegal by the restored Baltic governments, and the events of 1940 remained a painful chapter in the history of these nations. 1991, Tim Berners-Lee releases file describing his idea for the World Wide Web. Tim Berners-Lee was a British computer scientist. He released the first ever publicly available files of his ideas for World Wide Web. The event marked a pivotal moment in the history of the internet. It laid the foundation for the modern web as we know it today. It is regarded as the birth of the modern internet. It fundamentally changed how people live, work, and interact with each other. Berners-Lee's vision of an open and accessible web has continued to influence the development of the internet, emphasized the importance of a free and decentralized platform for sharing information. Let's look at the background. So Berners-Lee was working at CERN in Geneva, Switzerland. There he conceived this idea of WWW, that is World Wide Web. The goal was to create a system that would allow researchers and scientists to easily share and access information over the internet. The idea was based on a combination of existing technologies such as HTTP, that is Hypertext Markup Language, and the internet, that is a global network of computers. Berners-Lee proposed a universal and decentralized system that would enable users to navigate between linked documents across different servers. Release of the files. Berners-Lee released the first files describing his idea to the public via the CERN website. These files included the basics of HTML, Hypertext Markup Language, HTTP, that is Hypertext Transfer Protocol, and URLs, Uniform Resource Locators. The first website, which was also created by Berners-Lee, provided an explanation of the World Wide Web project, including instructions on how to create web pages and set up web servers. The impact and adoption. Early adoption. Initially, the web was used primarily by academics and researchers. However, its open and decentralized nature allowed it to rapidly expand beyond the confines of the scientific community. Expansion. As more web browsers were developed, such as Mosaic in 1993, the World Wide Web began to gain mainstream popularity. By the mid 1990s, the web had transformed from a tool for researchers to a global phenomenon, which revolutionized how people accessed and shared information. The global impact was such that the World Wide Web became an integral part of modern life. It enabled everything from e-commerce and social media to online education and global communication. Thank you guys. Please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.